All right, guys. So it's finally time for my official win total predictions for each and every NFL team. If you want a more detailed breakdown of each roster, you can go check out my Who Are They series. I'm going to be putting the link in the description below. And yeah, let's just get right on into it then. So kicking things off with the NFC East. And fourth place, I have the Giants going 4-13. And as you see there on the graphic, their record is in red. So if I think that they're going to go under their Vegas over-under, that's going to be red. If I think that it's over, then that's going to be labeled in green. So I see the Giants as having the worst record in the NFC East, finishing at 4-13. I'm just not really a big believer in Daniel Jones, Kenny Golladay. I really liked Kenny Golladay before he came over to the Giants, but he just doesn't look the same here. This offensive line is like heading in the right direction, but is it going to be enough for this year? And Saquon, he's a huge wild card, but even then, it's a running back, so how much can he even really move the needle? And there isn't really much to be excited for on this defense outside of the defensive line, which I actually do kind of like. And third place, we have the Commanders going 7-10. So Carson Wentz, he's going to have his ups and downs, just like always. He's going to have some good games where you're like, oh yeah, that's why they traded for him, and some bad games where it's like, oh yeah, that's why two teams just gave up on him. And the rest of this team, I don't think has talented enough to overcome the downs. This defense is loaded with talents, but it played poorly last year, surprisingly, and they kept the same defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, who I feel like always underwhelms despite being like this defensive genius label. And then second place in the NFC East, I have the Dallas Cowboys finishing 8-9. So the loss of Coop and both their tackles is going to hurt their offenses, no doubting it. You can see a direct correlation in how Dak plays based off of the surrounding talent around him, and this is going to be like one of the worst groups that he has had. Still some good pieces, of course, with CeeDee Lamb, but I'm just not as optimistic as I was about their offense last year. And then there's going to be some turnover regression on the defense. They aren't going to get as many picks, just how the NFL goes. And Parsons, he's going to need to do a lot to keep this defense together, which he's capable of, but that's a lot to put on the shoulders of a second-year player. And that means I have the Eagles finishing first at 11-6. I'm buying the rise. Hurts, he's been improving every year since he came into college, freshman at Alabama. He's got one of the top wide receiver duos in the league, a good tight end, a great offensive line. And then this defensive line might be even better than their offensive line. They've got good corners there too. This could just be a solid, great all-around team. All right. And then in the NFC South, we have the Falcons at 2-15. So this is just a talent-depleted roster. They're full rebuild mode. They don't have a quarterback of the future. Maybe Desmond Ridder, they'll trot him out, but no established quarterback, Their offensive line is shaky at best, and there's really not a lot of talent on this defense outside of A.J. Terrell. Then I have the Panthers finishing third in the division at 5-12. This is more so about the tough schedule that they have. I like Baker, but he's been so up and down. C-Mac, he can never stay healthy anymore, so can you really put too much stock into him? Like, I want him to be good, and maybe the Panthers will finish with a better record if McCaffrey can't stay healthy throughout the season, but we're just going to have to see. This offensive line is improving, but it's still a question mark. And then the defense has a lot of young talent. They just need to, step up and establish themselves. Coming in second in the NFC South, we have the Saints at 9-8. I think Jameis has a bit of a bounce back year. He's talented, and every time he plays good. He just had that one season with crazy turnovers, and people just think that's who he is. This offense, it should be good. Maybe not great. There are questions on the offensive line. Michael Thomas coming back. Is he going to be good again? Chris Olave as a rookie. There are definitely questions on this offense, but I think it still should be good. And also, how does it look without Sean Payton? Pete Carmichael has been there forever, so the offense coordinator is sticking around. I think they should just be fine. Not too worried. This defense also, it looks great. It could be one of the best in the leagues, but the trading of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is concerning, and then Marcus May just got arrested too, so have to keep an eye out on that. And then I have the Bucs then finishing first in the NFC South at 11-6. I definitely could see a slow start for this team, but I'm not doubting them at all. They're going to figure it out after a few weeks, get everyone rolling, get everyone clicking. By January, they're going to be one of the powerhouses. They just don't really have any huge holes on the rosters. just like some aging veterans. And this offensive line, it is a bit questionable, so that might hold them back, but I feel like they'll find a way to overcome it, you know? Moving on to the NFC North, I have the Bears finishing last at 3-14. So maybe this staff just loves Bryce Young or CJ Stroud because they just gave no help for Justin Fields. This could be the worst wide receivers and offensive line. There's not much on their defensive line besides Quinn. The linebackers are good, but Roquan, he's a question mark. Is he going to want to play? Is he going to be as committed for a team that's not willing to pay him? I do actually like the secondary, though. A lot of young pieces. They spend a couple of second-round draft picks on that. So I'm excited for the direction of the defense, but this offense is just rudderless and that wins games in the NFL, you know? So in third place, I have the Lions finishing at 7-10. So improving upon last year, but maybe not all the way to where some Lions fans are wanting to get. But, you know, they're starting to restore the roar. Williams, when he comes back, he's going to help this offense a lot. Jameson Williams, the wide receiver. And there's a lot of young pieces here, so they should be in a lot of close games, just like they were last year. I'm excited to see this deep pass rush, too. They have a lot of talented edge defenders, a lot of youth there, too, young guys. A guy drafted second overall, and then another one drafted in the second round this year. Lots of fun players to be watching on their defense. And the big swing factor, I feel like, on their defense, though, is Jeffrey Okudah. Can he be the same player that we saw in college now in year 3? Second place in the NFC North, I'm going to say that the Vikings are going to finish 10-7. They just got like a super loaded roster, but a lot of injury-prone players too. Kirk always produces, but can he step up in the big moments? They have amazing wide receivers, running back in Dalvin Cook, and Irv Smith. He's a breakout candidate at tight end. I really like him. This O-line definitely has their question marks, but there is a lot of youth and established starters too with Brian O'Neill, so does have some upsides. And this new coaching staff should give a boost to the offense, unlike Mike Zimmer. This defense is a bit concerning, not because of the talent. They have a lot of top-end talent, but there are older and injury-prone players like Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith on the edge, with like not a lot of depth behind them. Eric Kendricks at linebackers had some injury questions, and Pat Pete and Harrison Smith in the secondary. So hopefully everyone can stay healthy and not lose like stamina as this season goes along, because they're going to need them definitely. And then in first place, I had the Packers still at 13-4. The wide receivers look scary. A lot of you guys are going to be like, yo, what the hell is this guy talking about? 13-4 for the Packers with no wide receivers. But Rodgers is back-to-back MVP, and someone is going to step up here. There is talent in the wide receiver room, just untapped potential, I feel like. And Rodgers is going to need to throw the ball to someone. Maybe it's even Aaron Jones. This is the best running back duo in the league, I think. Maybe the Browns, but I really like Jones and Dillon. Jones can be a wide receiver if they need him to, like a slot, or even go all the way out wide a tiny bit. And if this whole O-line can stay healthy, it's top 3 easy. The defense is loaded every position on paper, no weak link. It's honestly kind of astounding. Like, they have a elite edge in Rashawn Gary. Like, he's defensive player of the year candidate. People underrate him. Jair Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, probably number 2 right behind Jalen Ramsey. And then the safeties with Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage. Their linebackers, Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker, they just don't really have any holes on that defense, and it could easily be the best in the league. And with Rodgers at quarterback, they're going to have a good passing attack no matter what, and this running game is going to be wild. So, yeah, don't sleep on the Packers. All right, so for the NFC West, I have the Seahawks finishing in last place at 6-11. They won't be good, but I can't imagine this team being terrible. Geno Smith is going to provide a floor that they will win games. They're going to get the offense going and just do enough to win a couple low-scoring bouts, you know? And Penny and Walker, they're going to be good running backs. That's a good running back duo as long as they can stay healthy. Both of them do have some injury question marks. Lockett and Metcalf are always a great duo, and adding Fant in there, I think is going to give them like at least a decent passing attack. This offensive line is bad, but I'm pretty optimistic about their young tackles, and the D has some problems. They need rookie like Boye Mafe to step up and produce, and there's a lot of question marks, youth in the secondary. They right now have 2 rookies slated to start, so in a 4th and a 5th round rookie, so not like high draft picks. In third place, I have the Cardinals finishing 9-8. I think they're going to have like the opposite of a normal card season. They're going to start slow, but finish strong with D-Hop coming back. The offense is going to be shaky early on, but when everyone comes back together, when D-Hop comes back, and I feel like they're just going to start getting clicking, you know? This defense definitely is concerning, though. I think can hold them back a bit. There's just like a lack of pass rush, a couple of young linebackers, and they do have a strong safety duo, but unproven corners. They made it work last year, though, with Vance Joseph, so we'll see if they can like put it all together again and, yeah, finish just above 500. And then I have the Rams in second place in the NFC West at 11-6. The brutal schedule hurts the Rams. I don't think that they're going to be much worse off than they were last season. They're going to beat some tough teams, but not all of them, and they're in a division that's always tough to lose a couple games there. This offensive line also has a couple new starters, but other than that, this team is mostly running this back. And this team, they went 12-5 last year, so not really even like a big drop-off, I'm predicting. But I do have the Niners finishing first in the division at 12-5. I'm buying all of the Trey Lance hype. And like, I think he's at least going to be good enough to make this offense one of the top ones with Shanahan's play calling. The offensive side of the football looks good everywhere outside of the line. Like I'm questionable about the line, but Trent, he's a god, and Shanahan knows how to make the offensive line look better with his scheme and the rollouts and all that stuff that he does. This defense is loaded too. Hopefully everyone can stay healthy this year. Like it definitely, I can see it finishing as a top 5 defense. And then based off of those records, this is how I see the playoff picture, with the Packers getting the 1 seed in the bye, the 49ers having the 2 seed, the Buccaneers having the 3 seed, Eagles with the 4 seed, Rams with the 5 seed, Vikings with the 6 seed, and then the Saints beating out the Cardinals with the tiebreaker to get the 7th seed. And then for the rest of the seeding, you can either look, or if you're listening to this, Cardinals at 8, Cowboys at 9, Lions at 10, Commanders at 11, Seahawks at 12, Panthers at 13, Giants at 14, Bears at 15, and the Falcons as the worst team in the NFC at 16th place. Okay, now moving on to the AFC. We got the AFC East starting off with the Jets finishing in last place in the division once again, 5-12. The Zach Wilson injury is going to hurt his development, hurt where they wanted him to be by the time the season start. And with a slow start with Flacco and Wilson coming back and dealing with like the transition and just getting reaccumulated to the offense, there are so many pieces to like on this offense. But like, man, can this quarterback room, whether it's Flacco or Wilson, can they put it together and make it click? Same with the defense. It ranked 32nd in the year last year with Robert Saleh, the defensive guru at head coach. There's a lot of new talent, namely Sauce, Johnson. You're getting Lawson back off of injury. It should be better. Like on paper, they look like a good defense, but will it actually be? That's yet to be seen. In third place, I have the Patriots going 8-9. This offense without a coordinator, it's going to struggle like a boat without a rudder. The sophomore slump ain't coming for Mac. I'm definitely seeing there's just like not any real exciting weapons to go to. This offensive line is just going to be fine. Like this offense is just going to be fine. I'm just nothing that's really going to get you excited, but they will like be good enough getting like 20-ish points a game, but not like knock your socks off type of deal. And this defense will be good, but there are question marks at all level. Belichick is going to coach the hell out of them and make players play better than they should, but I just don't think that's going to be enough this year to get them back to the playoffs. And then in second place, I have the Dolphins finishing at 9-8. Tua will be good, but not great. This offense will be fun, but you're going to see that a lot of stuff is left on the table. Like Tua's limited arm and accuracy is going to hurt them, sadly, I feel. This offensive line is improving, but Armstead he's a player who always struggles to stay healthy, and there's still a lot of unproven talent along it. I like their defense on paper, but it also is like they're getting rid of one of the best defensive minds in Brian Flores. So is it still going to be good, or was he kind of the glue keeping it together? And then at first place in the division, the Super Bowl darlings, the Buffalo Bills, finishing with a 12-5 record. This is a super talented roster. The only real weakness is offensive line. Davis needs to step up too as a second option opposite of Diggs. And then this defense is going to be good, but their corners definitely look a bit shaky right now. I do trust McDermott to bring the best out of them, though. Moving on to the AFC South, we have the Texans finishing in last place with a 3-14 record. I just don't think Mills is going to do good this year, especially with teams getting more tape on him. Another quarterback I see hitting a bit of a sophomore slump. They've got like a lot of all right players on the roster, like guys like, they deserve to be on the NFL roster, but no like superstars. A bad season, though, that I'm obviously predicting is going to put them in position to get a top quarterback and really kick off this rebuild. And in a year or two, definitely this could be a playoff team. A lot of young pieces to build around. And then in third place, I have the Jaguars finishing with a 9-8 record, which is a lot higher than a lot of people are expecting. Also, third place in the division. Wow. Lawrence, he's going to start to show that he is him. But there's just not enough talent around him with like a offensive line and weapons. Like despite all the money invested, Christian Kirk and Zay Jones aren't going to be them. This defense is definitely looking like it's heading in the right direction, though. They just need to kind of continue developing and get a couple more holes plugged. I'm really excited for the direction of this team. I just still think they're like maybe a year away. And then in second place, I have the Colts also finishing with a 9-8 record, just the way the tiebreakers worked. Colts got the upper hand, Matt Ryan, I still think he's going to be regressing. Like, I know he's in a much better spot than he was last year, but he is getting up there in age. And he's a good quarterback, but he's just always had a problem with finishing drives. Like Julio Jones notoriously never scored touchdowns. And a lot of that was on Matt Ryan just not being able to finish in the red zone. There's also not a lot of weapons for him to go to here. I'm not as high on Pittman as a lot of people. And Pierce as a rookie, like how much is he really going to do? Taylor, he's great, though. He's going to be all-pro offensive player of the year candidate, This defense is also just good, not great, and I'm really starting to get concerned about Shaquille Leonard's injury. Like, is it serious? It sounded like he's going to miss significant time. Like, what's going on there? And then I have the Titans finishing first in the division once again at 10-7. King Henry returns and powers the Titans to some wins. This is a tough team that wins a lot of games on paper that they shouldn't, but through good defense, good coaching, just like a hard-nosed attitude, they come out on top. And I also see Treylon Burks coming in on the end of the year, stepping it up as that difference maker. Maybe not, definitely not to A.J. Brown's level, but maybe rookie A.J. Brown level, And then this defense is going to be good because of Abel's coaching, but I am definitely a bit worried about the front seven, especially with the injury to Harold Landry. Very close to giving them that 10-second record and put them in first tier, but I still think that they have the possibility of winning it all or winning the division. And then in the AFC North, I have the Browns finishing last place at 5-12, though Deshaun Watson's suspension definitely hurts. And then it's going to be hard for him just to step in the middle of the season, act like nothing happening, and just be their quarterback again. I feel like that's going to be a bit of a rough transition. They're a very talented roster. They just got this cloud hanging over them for the whole season. They're the villains. Maybe they lean into that, win a couple more games that they shouldn't, but 11 games of Jacoby Brissett and then Deshaun Watson trying to transition, and I just don't see it going too well. Then in third place, I have the Steelers finishing 9-8. They just don't have losing seasons under Mike Tomlin. Trubisky, he's going to play all right, maybe eventually get benched for Pickett, and Pickett's going to come in and play all right, I am hyped for these wide receivers, though, especially George Pickens. I think he's going to be an instant difference maker. I think that was an amazing pick in the second round. This offensive line is still bad, though. It's going to hold back this offense a bit, especially with either Trubisky or a rookie quarterback. This defense should be great as always. There are questions in the secondary, but a strong pass rush will help to offset that. And then in second place, I have the Bengals going 10-7. Looking back on it, the offense was just all right last year. Very mediocre, but carried by explosive plays that just made it look so much better, Hopefully they can be a bit more consistent this year, but that's putting a lot of faith in Zach Taylor to call these plays, and I don't know, I'm not too excited about what he's going to bring to the table as a play caller again. This O-line should be better, but really it's just going to be average at best. That was what they did was good, bringing in a bunch of average guys because it's that's better than having a superstar and then holes, literal, not even people standing there. But that still is okay, well, if you bring average guys, it's not like you're going to be above average. And then this defense has exciting pieces, though. I really like the way it's all coming together. Towards the end of the season, it was like it's what got them through the playoffs. Sneakily, I think it could be better than their offense. It should be a defensive first team. And then in first place in the division, I have the Ravens going 12-5. The Ravens were good last year, despite being depleted by injuries. Just like barely missing the playoffs, they were the number 1 seed at one point. I'm liking this offense getting back to the basics with heavy tight ends, leaning into the strengths of Lamar Jackson, targeting the middle of the field, using his legs as a passer on the move, obviously in the run game, and then hitting his big targets for big gains. And this defense is looking good too if everyone can come back and stay healthy this year. That's just their big thing. Like, man, they need to stay healthy. But if they do, this is going to be one of the best teams in the league. And then last but certainly not least, we have the AFC West, the powerhouse division. And boy, I do not think it's going to disappoint. We got the Broncos in 4th place, but they're still finishing 9-8. I am buying all of the hype on this division. No one's going to finish here with a losing record. The Broncos are super loaded, and they should get off to a scorching hot start like they usually do. They go, I feel like every year they go 2-0, even if they have Brock Osweiler at quarterback. But both the Broncos and Russell Wilson are known for cooling off down the stretch, and I think that happens here once again, especially new quarterback, new coach, lots of new on this roster. I think it could kind of just start to sputter as the newness becomes less new. And despite the talent, they're barely going to finish above with their winning record. And that's going to bring us to our 3rd place team, the Las Vegas Raiders, finishing with a 10-7 records. There's a lot of fading going on with the Raiders recently, and I almost faded them too. Like I was very torn on a couple of games because how I made these, just to make sure that I got all the numbers correctly, I went into a game predictor and just kind of predicted all the games and was like, okay, like made a couple of tweaks and was like, yeah, sure, that looks good. A lot of the fading on the Raiders right now is due to the horrid offensive line and shaky secondary. But honestly, can this offensive line be worse than what it was last year? Like looking at it, their left side is still the same. Colton Miller, Lester Cotton, and not Lester Cotton, John Simpson, and Andre James is left tackle to center. That's going to be the exact same. And you're replacing Alex Leatherwood and Brandon Parker, who were the 2 worst offensive linemen in the league last year. So it literally can't get worse than that, even though you're putting out Lester Cotton and Jermaine Illuminor. Like, yeah, those are obviously unproven guys. They probably won't be good, but they're going to be at least a small upgrade over Leatherwood and Parker. And then the secondary at the end of the year, when they beat the Chargers to get in their playoffs, they had Brandon Faison and Desmond Trufant out there taking snaps, seeing significant time due to all the injuries that they had. And yeah, once again, you're going to be better than that with Rock Ya-Sin and Nate Hobbs moving to the outside. Like, yeah, these aren't exciting players. They're going to be around the 20th, 25th secondary and probably around the 30th offensive line. But they had all that, and they had a coach get fired or resigned midseason, a star player arrested for killing someone, and they still made the playoffs last year. And what they do this year, they added some star players, namely Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones. They have better coaches. That still should be a good team. But obviously, I still have them 3rd in the division because that's just how freaking loaded this division is. Because the Chargers are going to finish 2nd at 11-6. The Chargers are always off-season darlings and never live up to the hypes. But this team is just so loaded that they just have to this year. Like, it would be mind-boggling, meltdown, fire everybody sort of thing, barring injuries, if they miss the playoffs or don't live up to the hype. If they like barely squeak in, like, you got to start firing people because, man, this roster's loaded. Should be one of the best teams in the league, most fun team to watch. I think they will lose some games because of their stupid luck, but man, I'm excited to watch them play, and they should have one of the best seasons in the league. But obviously not the best. So I have the Chiefs finishing 13-4. They're still the kings of the AFC West. Reid and Mahomes are going to remind everyone just how good this team is, still being one of the best, if not the best offense. They got a couple of talented receivers that they are going to be able to take advantage of. And this defense is taking steps in the right directions too. I love the Karlaftis and McDuffie pickups that they had in the first round this year. And even last year, their defense was playing better down the stretch than normal. This should be one of the league's best teams once again. All right, so then taking a macro view at the whole AFC, you got the Chiefs as the 1 seed, the Bills as the 2 seed, the Ravens as the 3 seed, the Titans as the 4 seed, and then the Chargers as the 5 seed, the Raiders as the 6 seed, and the Bengals at the 7 seed. And that's not for the lack of trying from all the other teams. This AFC is absolutely loaded. If you look at my predictions right here, I have 5 teams who just missed the playoffs with a 9-8 record. It's going to be the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Colts, and the Jaguars. And then the Patriots right outside 2, sitting at 8-9 and 13th. The Jets 14th, the Browns 15th, and the Texans as the worst team in the AFC. All right, so that's how I see the regular season playing out. Obviously, a lot of different things can happen. The NFL is a game of every given Sunday. I'm going to be wrong, and I'm excited to look back at this and laugh at myself. And also, though, I feel like I will be right about a few things. Obviously, that's what I'm putting out there. It's going to be cool. At the end of the season, I will be doing a little recap video. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, too. Who am I too low on? Who am I too high on? But with that, let's get on into the playoffs. Hey, what's up? What you just saw was a clip from our podcast, the Forward Progress Football Podcast. If you want to see that full episode, you can click the little icon right there, and that'll bring you to it. Also, if you want to see what I was talking about with my Who Are They series, I broke down each and every team. You can watch that right there. Find your team in the playlist and stick around for the whole NFL season. I'll be talking about each and every game, previewing, reviewing all the exciting storylines, putting out in short little clips like this or in the full episode, whichever way you prefer enjoying. Just click the subscribe button right there, and I'll see you all next time.